In the spring of 1453, the city of Constantinople, once the grand capital of the Byzantine Empire, stood on the precipice of an irrevocable end. For over 1,000 years, this city had been the heart of a civilization that bridged continents, faiths, and epochs. From its strategic position on the Bosporus Strait, where Europe meets Asia, Constantinople was not merely a city. It was a living symbol of resilience, faith, and imperial authority. But now, shadows gathered over its ancient walls, signaling the end of an age and the dawn of a new world order. To fully grasp the gravity of this moment, one must look back to the foundations of Constantinople. Founded in 330 AD by Emperor Constantine the Great, it was conceived as the new Rome, a bastion of imperial power designed to carry forward the legacy of Rome into a new era. Its location was no accident. Perched on the natural defenses offered by the peninsula, surrounded on three sides by water, it was a city built to withstand sieges and invasions for centuries to come. The famed Theodosian walls, constructed in the 5th century under Emperor Theodosius II, stretched nearly 7 miles, with double layers of formidable stone fortifications, towers, and moats. These walls had repelled countless sieges, from Avars and Persians to Arab armies and crusaders. Yet Constantinople was much more than stone and mortar. It was the spiritual and cultural heart of the Eastern Roman Empire, a center where Eastern Orthodox Christianity flourished, where art and scholarship thrived, and where the threads of Greco-Roman heritage were woven into the tapestry of medieval civilization. Through the centuries it endured wars, plagues, and political upheavals. It was a city of immense wealth and diversity, a crossroads for merchants and pilgrims, scholars and soldiers. But empires, no matter how mighty, are not eternal. By the 15th century, the Byzantine Empire was but a shadow of its former self. Once an expansive realm stretching across the eastern Mediterranean, it had been steadily carved away by rival powers: the Seljuk Turks, the Crusaders, and most recently, the Ottomans. What remained was little more than Constantinople itself and a handful of outlying territories. The great empire that had once ruled vast lands was now hemmed in, wrestling for survival in an age of shifting powers. Across the Bosporus, a new force had risen: the Ottoman Empire. From humble beginnings as a small Anatolian principality, it had grown rapidly under the leadership of ambitious sultans. By the mid-15th century, the Ottomans had consolidated much of Anatolia and the Balkans, extending their reach to the very gates of Constantinople. Their capital, Bursa, had been established as a center of administration, but the city on the Bosporus remained the jewel in the crown, both a prize and an obstacle. At the helm stood Sultan Mehmed II, known in history as Mehmed the Conqueror. At just 21 years old, Mehmed was a visionary leader, determined to fulfill a destiny that would etch his name into the annals of history. He saw in Constantinople not just a city, but the key to controlling the strategic crossroads between Europe and Asia, the gateway to the Mediterranean, and the ultimate symbol of imperial legitimacy. To him, the conquest of Constantinople was both a practical necessity and a divine mission. Mehmed's preparations for the siege were meticulous and relentless. His army was a formidable force, estimated between 80,000 to 100,000 soldiers, including elite Janissaries cavalry and engineers. But it was the artillery that marked a turning point in the art of war. The Ottomans possessed the largest cannons the world had yet seen. Chief among them was the massive basilica cannon, a colossal weapon designed by the Hungarian engineer Urban, capable of firing stone balls weighing over half a ton. This cannon was not just a weapon, It was a statement, a harbinger of a new age where medieval walls could no longer guarantee safety. Inside the city, Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos faced an impossible task. The last Byzantine emperor, he was a man of courage and determination, acutely aware of the stakes. His forces were vastly outnumbered, roughly 7,000 defenders, a motley assembly of soldiers, civilians, and a small contingent of foreign mercenaries and knights, including a few Venetian and Genoese sailors. The city's resources were depleted, its population diminished by years of hardship. Yet, the defenders were united in their resolve. They manned the walls, patched breaches, and prepared for a fight that would be etched in legend. The siege began on April 6, 1453. From the first cannon blast, the city was plunged into a relentless trial. For weeks, the Ottoman artillery thundered, battering the ancient walls with an intensity never before witnessed. The sound of stone shattering against stone echoed across the city, shaking foundations and unsettling even the most stalwart defenders. Yet, the walls held firm, and the defenders repelled every assault with fierce determination. The atmosphere within Constantinople was one of grim endurance. The city was a cauldron of tension and fear, hope and despair. Citizens gathered in churches, praying for deliverance. Soldiers worked tirelessly, reinforcing defenses and tending to the wounded. Food supplies dwindled, and the population endured hunger and hardship. But their spirit refused to break. The Ottomans, for their part, were patient and strategic. They understood that Constantinople was not just a military objective, but a symbol. Their siege tactics combined brute force with cunning. They cut off supply lines, blockaded the city by sea, and employed psychological warfare to erode the defenders' morale. The blockade of the Golden Horn, the city's vital harbor, was particularly effective. The Ottomans stretched a massive iron chain across the entrance, preventing ships from entering or leaving. In a remarkable display of ingenuity and determination, Mehmed's forces hauled a fleet of ships overland across the Galata Peninsula, bypassing the chain and gaining control of the harbor. This feat of engineering and logistics underscored the relentless ambition of the Ottoman campaign and served as a turning point in the siege. As the days wore on, the siege tightened like a noose. The defenders fought valiantly, but the odds grew ever more daunting. The psychological toll mounted, hunger gnawed at the city's nerves, and the physical strain exhausted even the strongest. The walls, once impregnable, bore the scars of continuous bombardment. Throughout the siege, Emperor Constantine XI remained at the forefront, rallying his troops and embodying the city's resilience. Accounts tell of his presence on the walls, sword in hand, leading the defense with a determination that inspired his men. Yet, even the bravest hearts could not stem the tide indefinitely. On the dawn of May 29, 1453, after 53 days of siege, the Ottomans launched their final, decisive assault. The attack was ferocious and unrelenting. Ottoman soldiers surged forward, breaching the walls at several points. The defenders fought with unmatched valor, engaging in brutal close-quarters combat. The clash of steel, the cries of battle, and the smoke of gunpowder filled the air. Emperor Constantine V is said to have fought alongside his soldiers until the very end. As the city fell, he disappeared into the chaos, his fate shrouded in mystery, a fitting end for a ruler whose life was intertwined with the city's destiny. With the fall of Constantinople, a millennium-old empire breathed its last. The Byzantine Empire, the last vestige of the Roman world, ceased to exist. The city was renamed Istanbul, becoming the new capital of the Ottoman Empire, a vibrant center that would blend the legacies of East and West. The consequences of Constantinople's fall rippled far beyond its walls. It marked the definitive end of the Middle Ages and the dawn of the Renaissance and the modern era. The closure of traditional trade routes to the east spurred European powers to seek new paths, catalyzing the age of exploration. The intellectual refugees who fled the city carried with them classical knowledge that would ignite the flames of humanism and learning in Western Europe. The Ottoman Empire, now master of a strategic crossroads, emerged as a dominant power for centuries, shaping the geopolitics of Europe, Asia, and Africa. The balance of power shifted, cultures collided, and new paradigms of empire and identity were forged. Yet, the fall left scars deeper than stone and blood, scars in the psyche of Europe, in the course of history, and in the lessons of power and resilience. The city that had once been the beacon of Christianity and imperial authority now stood transformed, a testament to change and continuity alike. Today, the ruins and remnants of Constantinople's walls stand as silent witnesses to the grandeur and tragedy of an empire's fall. They tell a story not just of defeat, but of endurance and the relentless march of time. They remind us that history is not merely a chronicle of events, but a tapestry of human endeavor, ambition, and the inevitable forces of change. The fall of Constantinople is more than a chapter in history. It is a profound reflection on the nature of power, the fragility of civilizations, and the enduring spirit of those who stand against the tides of fate. It teaches us that no empire is immune to the forces of change, and that every empire, no matter how great, leaves behind a scar. Every empire leaves